Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to this Tuesday evening where we are going to read another edition of Chris's Quictionary. And this one is concerning the SLGBTQ. And I don't technically know what the S is supposed to be, but let's find out. SLGBTQ is a Cwcism variant of the more common acronym LGBTQ, an acronym for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. Chris coined his variant on the term sometime in April or May of 2017, but did not explain the reasoning behind his alteration until a Facebook post on the 21st of May 2017. He has since used the term consistently in contexts where most people would use the more conventional acronym, cementing its Cwcism status. And you'll see here first Chris's poster celebrating SLGBTQ Pride. He brought this poster with him to UVA Remembers Pulse. Note that the flag for heterosexuality, a white flag with black stripes, is the first flag of the set when viewed from left to right. And listen, as someone from the northeast of England, I'd say this is quite nice. It's just, but why not just make separate flags featuring all of them? Well, like separate flags for each. Why did you just need to like cram them all into one? I'm not entirely sure about the design, and also, yeah, well aside from Chris's, his art style anyway. Also, the lettering and the ink seeping into where it's supposed to be white. Chris is, and also again, he couldn't even just use a ruler, really, just for this border. I think it's fair to say that Chris is, well, from my own from where I can see it, he is no graphic designer. Love, equality, and freedom for all people. Have no fear or terror. He's not a grammarcist either. Or have no fear or phobia. Have open hearts. Do not step backwards with hate. Step forward with love. Of course, all of this is fairly ironic, especially coming from Chris, if anybody knows a little bit too much about his history, and the way he has talked about homosexual people in the past, may argue that this is absolutely null and void, and whether or not Chris actually sticks to all of this will be something to see for the future. Right, so that's just Chris's original post. Okay, let's expand that. Let's talk a bit about my idea of adding the S to LGBTQ. Firstly, the S is for straight or cisgender. First thing I want to ask here is that if this is specifically for, if the whole idea of LGBT is supposed to be for people who are homosexual, then what exactly do we need to include straightness in this for? I think what Chris is trying to do is that he's trying to include people of all orientation involved, which, when you actually think about it, is kind of a good idea in a way, because if we're going to include everybody of anything apart from straight orientation, then why not include them, throw them into the pile as well? Why don't we just put the entire... But then again, we have that anyway. It's sexual orientation, which includes everybody else anyway. Which... I think the whole point is that Chris is trying to have the idea of inclusion, but the fact is that it's not nearly the same. Even though, technically... I think the phrase Chris is trying to look for really is to... He should have discussed the idea of orientation as a whole, as opposed to just adding this in, because it seems as if, like, Chris is still trying to add himself into a group that would sympathize and be on his side anyway. Both the straight and cisgender flags are above the S. I feel it beneficial and good to include the straight/cisgender, as to not leave them feeling left out. Well, there is something to be said about that, apart from the fact that he will almost refer to himself anyway, because I don't feel left out. should I feel left out? Because I don't. So there you go. I think Chris what seems to lack sometimes is that even though we can obviously tell he wants to be included in this, so he fails to understand is that some people have absolutely no qualms whatsoever, and they're just okay with how it is. People who are asexual don't want to be mixed in with all this because they don't feel sexual stimulus from anybody, and that's their agenda, and that's absolutely fine. If they wanted to be included, then I feel like the idea of the clues in the name, sexual orientation, meaning that you would have to have feelings of some sort of sexual nature or some kind of attractment to somebody else in the first place, which kind of makes you wonder why you have to call it like asexual. Could we not just call it like some other term, just like not interested? But you get the idea. But then again, has Chris actually ever... The problem again is that has Chris actually ever talked to straight or cisgender people and what their opinions are? Because this seems like a self, fulfilling fantasy of Chris that concerns him and only him, without any cause for concern for anybody else's ideas whatsoever. I mean, when the LGBTQ have our straight allies and supporters, he calls it allies as though this is some sort of army, and to figure ourselves as different from them, in a sense, have seeded the idea of our community in us. Regardless, we do welcome them to our Pride festivals and events, but they each may have been feeling singled and left out. Chris, just so you're aware, years ago when you were damning homosexuals all go to hell and hoping that they died in explosions, was that your idea of inclusion? Because I'm not saying that there's a redemption thing here as that, but Chris seems to... He isn't really sorry for the things he's said about, homosexual people before. And even if he did, some people are just kind of like, well, I think when it comes to gay people and when they are approached or Chris talks to them, I think they'll just kind of take it on... I don't know whether they'll just take it on the chin or just say to themselves, just let him have him say, don't listen to it, and just move on. Sometimes I feel like that might be the best thing. It's just to listen and then silently move on. Plus, look at the acronym this way, SLGBTQ. We, the LGBT, and everyone in between. The Q being the queer and questioning, either amongst our allies and those who may be exploring and figuring themselves out. And the S, our allies, most of all, at least, that were here before us. We still welcome them, at least the ones with open hearts. Christ almighty, Chris, you're not Jesus. We, the LGBTQ, still strive for work towards equality and freedom, like everyone else. Have we totally considered the same for them? We are equal to everyone, and we are to remain included, and the least to return the favour unto them. Include their... Okay, wait, first of all, Chris, you do you understand that, for one, gay people did not get the right to marry until 2014, 2015, I think, in the US? I know it was definitely 2014 in the UK at least. It was in summer, I believe, was when, gay people were allowed to get married. It sounds like Chris has got this backwards. He feels as if straight people are being suppressed because now he's on the other side looking in. And I reckon if Chris was black, he would be saying the same thing to white males. Prove me wrong, guys. Actually try and prove me wrong, because I genuinely think Chris has got this entire thing backwards. Saying that it should be people who are more tolerant towards each other. Gays and straight people included should be tolerant towards each other. We are equal to everyone and women included, and our last favour returning to them. Include their flags and letter in what we already have. The total salad of our multitude of variants. What the fuck is he bringing food into this? That makes us, as a whole, a damn great salad. Meats and fruits included. We, the whole world together, are the SLGBTQ. Thank you, HRC. Love is love. Right. I wonder how well people actually took this, or they wondered what their I wonder what their responses would have been to this, because I don't know if my response would have been any less different to someone else, perhaps. The Q for the blanket terms queer or questioning is a reasonable common addition by modern activists through less widespread than the core LGBT. Chris paid fairly little attention to the letter in his explanation. He likely picked it up from the organisations such as the Human Rights Campaign or Seville Pride, both of whom routinely include it. More notable is Chris's inclusion of an S for straight, which he explained as being to welcome non-LGBTQ people with open hearts, as straight people make up the vast majority of the population. Exactly, that you can't say that they're a minority then. Chris's new acronym covers almost everyone, with the notable exception of asexuals, thus defeating the purpose of identifying LGBTQ people as a minority group with common attributes. Chris's reasons for adding the S are unclear. He places an undue emphasis on the celebration of SLGBTQ pride, and may feel bad about excluding straight people from the feeling proud as well. This is despite the fact that many people can feel pride or prideful without having it be associated with, being gay. I can't believe I'm having to make that point at all, but whatever. At least I am, I suppose, which is better than nothing, I suppose. Where were we? It could also be possible to continue associating with the LGBTQ community in the increasing unlikely event Chris stops identifying as a transgender lesbian and goes back to identifying as a straight male, to preserve the friends he has made within the community. Finally, his brand loyalty could play a factor. Chris may feel that he must pay homage to heterosexuality, forever due to the past importance of being straight to his identity. Whatever the case, Chris is evidently unaware that many in the LGBT community frown upon the inclusion of straight people in the acronym, with most preferring to use the letter A in the extended acronym LGBTQIA+, to refer to allies of all kinds, including straight people. They would almost certainly object to offering heterosexuals the first letter. A tweet using the phrase was in fact called out by such a social justice warrior, as well as notorious A-log Michael Hurties, for this exact reason. With Chris's increased interest in the SLGBTQ community, he has made artwork and writing supporting the community, culminating in the observation of Quickville's first SLGBTQ Pride event in Sonichu issue 12, a marked change from Chris's statements in the comic advocating criminalizing and later curing homosexuality 8 years earlier. Which begs the question, how can anybody celebrate a pride parade if there are no gay people at all in Quickville? Oh dear, Chris. That's one of the slightly more glaring, plot holes in his story, but there you go. The comic even shows a change in his particular dislike of gay men, as it features Chris's comic persona apologizing to Rennaug Natsu Natsurk for hating him based on his orientation, though Chris immediately follows this up with an apparent gay joke when Rennaug goes to choke down a relish dog with mayo. However, the pro-SLGBTQ statements in Chris's works predictably tend to be heavy-handed and insubstantial. It is also unlikely that Chris's views would have changed had he not joined the community itself. That's also very, very interesting and possibly very true as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and with that being said, and that very long explanation over with, that is going to do it for Chris and the term SLGBTQ. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of this statement and if there is anything at all I'm missing from this. Because I want to hear your opinions on this, because I don't know what else or how else you can add to this, but I feel like I just want to hear some other opinion about this. That's what I kind of like, I'm interested in at this point. And with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reaction video, and I hope to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.